Re-
Well, welcome everyone to another God experience. And this week's God experience is bliss. And while I had a very blissful activation of bliss, I'm not feeling so entirely blissful at the moment. I'm a little dissatisfied or aggravated or something. So hopefully, this video will alleviate that stress, that dissatisfaction. Now, I think something else can alleviate that. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So, yes, this will be a rambling video because I have something to say. I have a little speculation to share with you. Um, but so far, let me look at our storyline of the city words. And we have so far the invincibility of timelessness is invisible in the light, but being is experienced as bliss. So that's our little story. And yeah, so this week, the last word is bliss. This week's city is bliss, and we get to bliss via vitality is the gift, and the shadow is dissatisfaction. Where do I want to go with this before I look at the numbers? I when I heard the word dissatisfaction, and maybe other people have made this connection, but what I hear is dissatiation, not feeling satiated. And I am postulating that it's not just not feeling satiated from the mind, which is Richard talks about, that there's a pressure inside of us. It's this little bit of stress that makes us like look to the future. We can't be in the present because we're trying to squelch this pressure and stress inside of us, this feeling of dissatiation, dissatisfaction. It's like we're hungry and we don't have the right things to fill our mental body with or something. So we keep looking to the future, trying to make a better world out there, trying to do service, just doing something to make us feel full and not hungry from a mental perspective. But I am here to say that I think it has a lot to do with, or much of this dissatisfaction and stress, and perhaps all of these shadow frequencies, particularly the ones regarding food or hunger, all come from a physical lack within us based on our diet. And kind of the Hebrew letter foundation of this word bliss kind of confirms that. Yeah, because if you think about it, really all of these really deep, intense psychological shadows that we are experiencing we've always had shadows, of course, but we're really manic these days. And I think that the intensity of these shadows have skyrocketed over the past 100 years. Why? What happened the past couple 100 years? Agriculture and food processing, and gotten away from our natural way of eating. Okay, so I'll stop there. So that's where I'm going with this talk. And let's see, where do I want to go next? Let's look at the numbers and a little few slides, and I'm going to be a little discombobulated because I guess part of my little dissatisfaction is I couldn't quite formulate how I wanted to attack or express this talk today. So I may be a little all over the place. So let me share screen. What am I sharing? Oh, yes, the Hebrew letters. So what is behind bliss? So the foundational number is number 17. Oh, that weird number. It's really my least favorite, but it's a very high frequency number. And what do I want to say? So the 17, let me move here to on the tree of life. We looked at this before. I think it was in being, actually. I can't remember. The 17 is located here in the middle of the tree of life. And it's part of the causal realm, the higher mental realm. But what is it surrounding? What is it holding up? This middle sphere represents the heart. So here we are talking about the heart, following our bliss, and the 17 is half of the structure of the heart space, the blissful space. And the 17 represents, it's represented by the mouth, and the mouth represents, of course, our pure expression out into the world, expressing, following our bliss, expressing from the heart. But it also has to do, and of course, words and our principled speech and our heartfelt speech. But the mouth is not just a one way, it's what we put into our mouth. What are we feeding our body? So this is why I said the 17 really does represent our physical health as well. What are we putting into our mouth? And now I'm going to switch to another slide. And this is about the 5 sheaths, try to say that fast, of the human body based on the Hindu tradition. And so here we see, so we have the physical body, of course, the orange on the outer, we call it the food body. Then we have the mental body. Anyway, so what I want to say here is the gray circle, the innermost sheath, is the bliss body. And what I want to say is, if the food body, the orange circle, isn't nourished properly, it gets out of whack. Then it affects the next green sheath, which is the mental body. And of course, our mind gets in the shadow and we're like seeking, we feel agitated, angry, whatever. We don't feel grounded. We can't be in the present moment. And then we get all constricted. And what does that affect? The next energy body, which is the blue body, which is the pranamaya kosha, which is prana. It affects our breathing. And then what does that affect? Well, it affects just our ability to have wisdom, to think clearly, to have discernment, which is, and this is like working within the causal realm, that higher realm of the heart. And then it absolutely, the bliss body is the heart, is the zone of the heart, kind of just below the clavicle, the little ball. It's like your high heart. And this is the bliss body. So if our food body is out of alignment, how can we ever expect to really experience and express bliss? Richard talks about that there are only rare individuals in a century that come along, like Ramana Maharshi, that can really express bliss. And I would say, I don't agree with that at all. I think all of us, because it's part of our bodies, our subtle body is a bliss body. We all have the potential to experience and express bliss. I mean, it's part of the 3 things that make up Brahman, which is existence or being, awareness, and bliss. So it is us. Bliss is us. And so, but obviously there are varying degrees to which we can experience bliss. And I think it has a lot to do with what we put into our bodies. So let me just finish with the bliss, the word, the numbers. Okay, so here we are, 17, expressing from the heart, feeding our body. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. With the proper nutrients. And then, of course, we have the 9-9, which is, so what does that give us? The ability to express our full archetypal self out into the world. It's a sign of completion. And the success is we've become one with God, and we are a manifestation of God. Okay, so let's get back to, okay, now I'm going to go on a little like meat-based carnivore rant, not a rant, but if you don't know, recently I have totally and completely changed my dietary input, what I'm putting in my mouth. I have gotten off it's going to sound really crazy. Of course, all sugars, all processed foods, carbs, including plants, fruits, nuts, anything, no carbs whatsoever. And that has put me into being a ketogenic body rather than a carb burning body. We're not meant to, where am I going with this? This is all leading back to our ability to properly nourish our body. When the body is properly nourished, and this is what I have experienced, the ability to experience these acidic states goes up 10 or more fold. My ability to be present and satiated, this is the huge point. To be full, I have never experienced feeling fully satiated physically. And when I'm physically fully satiated, because salads, vegetables, carbs, whatever, never did that for me. It always left me like, oh, I'm still so hungry. What am I going to eat? Or just feeling ungrounded and not in the present moment, because the brain is trying to function on carbs and sugar, and plants and vegetables are carbs. It turns, the body takes all that stuff and turns it into sugar to try to energize the body off of a carb-based system. We are not a carb-based system. The body is made up of protein and fat. We are meant to work to burn fat as our vital force system, not plants, not carbs. And so when my body has shifted to this mode of operating, what it does to the brain, particularly eating high fat and animal fats, really good fats. And you don't get fat eating fat. Don't worry about it. And all the other myths that you heard about meat, don't worry about it. It's not true. This is the proper human diet. But what it does is it like restructures your whole central nervous system and your brain, and suddenly bliss becomes more blissful instead of just like a little, oh, isn't that nice, or I can't handle it, or I don't feel it. It's like your whole body is in tune with the universe, and you are actually much more present in life and in your body, and you're grounded because you're completely satiated. So that's what I mean about bliss. And bliss or being dissatisfied is not just a mental quandary, it is a biological need. Our body is dissatisfied, is dissatiated, therefore making our brain, our biology is seeking nutrients, grounding nutrients to keep us in the present. You know, our ancestors were fully present. Do you think they were out there trying to, no, I can't imagine. They were fully grounded. They lived with purpose, with the land, grounded on the land. They ate their meat. They ate high fat, and they were not worried about not doing anything, about how they could, be of service to the world. Or they were just fully satisfied living life and resting within themselves and nature and sitting there and staring. Okay, so you get my point. Okay, enough of that rant. I apologize, but it's all making sense to me. But of course, this is my personal opinion. I just had to share. Another thing I want to say about bliss, going back to the 5 sheaths of our subtle body, and the inner layer being the heart, being the bliss. And what I wanted to say is that, bliss is, how did I say it? Is a vibratory expression or an interpretation of our natural self through the physical body and its senses. So what do I mean by that? Excuse me. Bliss is still an experience. All of these cities are experiences because it's something that we can feel. There has to be an experiencer. If you noticed on the 5 sheets, what was inside or the deepest center hole was called the self, the Atman or Brahman. And it is the one, it is the knower of the bliss. Therefore, it's not bliss is not the end game. Bliss is not enlightenment. Bliss is great. It is a representation of who we are, our natural self through the body, through its vibratory expression, through our senses and our body. But it is not you. There is the one who knows bliss, and that's where you need to go. So don't get hung up if you don't feel bliss, or it is part of it. It's the heart. It is the heart of you, but it's not you. Anyway, I think I'll actually do a quick activation for bliss. So yeah, let's do it. Let's activate bliss in this video. Now, I'll do it very quickly. So go ahead and get into your comfortable and relaxed position. Oh, and by the way, excuse me, I did want to say, there's follow your bliss. And I think of course, that's a beautiful saying. Of course, follow your heart. But it also, I think the human mind can take that. First of all, when you say follow your bliss, that means it's a very personal, where the I can take that and go, yeah, what am I passionate about? What do I want? I want to, I want to follow it. There's a possession there, right? And really expressing or experiencing bliss, it's not about following anything. It's not about chasing after, seeking bliss. I think there's got to be a better way rather than follow your bliss, but how about be bliss or rest in the bliss and do you know what I'm saying? Rather than letting the I take you out somewhere to find your bliss, to create bliss, to market your bliss, to try to make money from your bliss, that it's really resting in bliss is where we want to go in order to discover the one who is experiencing and knowing the bliss. That's the key. I hope that made sense. Anyway, so let's activate bliss. So I could use a little more bliss. So go ahead, relax, of course, take a deep breath. Yeah. And of course, the gift of bliss is vitality. And that's all about the well-being of the body. And it's the prana sheath. And the prana sheath is right here. We have 5 major prana bodies. And the prana body that is for prana and vitality is here in the chest area. So of course, we're going to breathe into the belly. Let's breathe into the chest and really focus right up here, just below our 2 clavicle bones. Breathing into our heart space. Hold and release. A little pranayama. Breathing into the chest, hold. And already you're probably noticing a little more vitality. Yeah, breathing into the chest. Pause, because the pause is the natural self. Breathing into the heart is the heart, the attention in this area that gives you vitality, brings bliss. Beautiful. And now, if you want to, you can follow my little instructions and imagine the word bliss running up your spine, into the fluids of your spine, up into your head, into your brain. Bliss, 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 bliss everywhere. Bliss in your heart, all the cells of your heart. Bliss running in your blood. Bliss, bliss, bliss everywhere in all of your cells, like little carbonated bubbles. And out into your field, bliss. And we can call upon whatever body you want to work with, your higher self, the monadic self. Or we call upon the self in the heart, the self that is everywhere, Brahman. Please activate and awaken bliss in this body. And we ask that you activate as much bliss as each of our bodies can handle. And if we can't handle it right now, put it in our subtle body escrow account. So when the time is right, we can feel the full intensity of bliss. But we know we have to have the brain and the nervous system to handle it. And for me right now, bliss wants to rise up. It is very powerful. And it wants to come out here, but I will. That's for me. And then we just say our little prayer. Please allow me to be a grounding and radiating agent of bliss this week and always. Lead me to bliss, then lead me to the knower of bliss. We are complete. Hey, until next time.